In this episode, we speak to the truly inspiring Todd Crandell. Todd spent 13 years in the trenches of drug addiction and alcoholism, destroying his mind, body, and relationships using heroin, cocaine, alcohol, and in his own words, every prescription drug he could get his hands on. He was homeless and suicidal. But after his third arrest, he had a moment of clarity and quit his addictions, going cold turkey.
From that point on, Crandell took back control of his life. Since sobriety, he's raced over 100 Ironman and Ultraman events in 15 countries and 6 continents. He's also set up an organisation, Racing for Recovery, which helps people all over the world overcome addiction through healthy and holistic living. It's a new approach to sobriety and an alternative to the traditional programs. Todd is also an author, speaker and filmmaker, and we're sure you're going to find this episode both enlightening and inspirational.
Hi, I'm James Davis.
And I'm Claire Davis.
We're the Midlife Mentors, here to lift the lid on how to achieve health and happiness.
The balanced, no-nonsense way.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Midlife Mentors with me, James.
And me, Claire. Well, we've been busy bees, haven't we? I feel like we've really hit the gas.
We have hit the gas finally.
The accelerator.
Well, I don't know actually when this will come out, but listeners will know we were kind of laid up over the Christmas New Year period with a horrible flu thing that took us out for too long.
Really too long.
We missed our cold water swimming, we missed our exercise, but we're now back in the gym. We are going to go cold water swimming at the weekend, and we're back the accelerator on work as well. So good.
The cold water swimming, we're part of the group. If anyone listens to us frequently, we're near Hampstead Heath and we have the ponds in Hampstead Heath, and we're part of a WhatsApp group, and apparently it's plummeted from about 7 or 8 back down to 2, which is terrifying because we've been out of action and we've de-acclimatized.
We have.
So I'm a little bit scared about the cold water swimming.
It's going to be interesting, I think, for the weekend. But anyway.
Absolutely. And we're very excited. We've got our retreat coming up in Marbella at the stunning 5-star Punta Romano Resort and Spa. So we're going to get a bit of winter sun.
I know, can't wait.
Fingers crossed. Now, if you want to join us on that, it's everything that we share on this podcast. It's everything you need, all the tools you need to live a healthy, happy midlife, body, mind and soul. It's a really immersive, beautiful environment to do that with. We keep the groups really nice and small, so you have that intimate experience with James and I. I'll put the link in the show notes to that if you want to join us. We'd love to see you there. So without further ado, I'm really excited. We're both really excited about our guest today, Todd. Now James obviously can introduce him.
Yeah, Todd Crandell. He's a speaker, a best-selling author. He's had documentaries made about him. I think there's a movie in the making. And he's competed in literally hundreds of Ironmans, and quite an interesting backstory as well. So Todd, over to you. Maybe you want to introduce yourself. You can probably do a better job than I did.
Hello. I said this before we started the show. I love your guys' accent. I kind of want to start off by saying cheerio, mate. I screwed that up right off the bat, but I love it. And I love the energy you both have. So this will be good.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Well, we're really, really thrilled to have you on this podcast because, James and I have been reading up about your background. And I mean, it's beyond awe-inspiring. It really, really is. And I know listeners are just going to really feel this podcast, to be honest, really feel this interview, because what you've achieved and where you've come from is incredible. And so maybe just, introduce yourself, share a little bit about what you're doing and how you got there.
Well, I every time I do a podcast, I kind of start off the same way and really cut to the chase. I'm the survivor of my mom's suicide when I was 3 years old from her drug and alcohol addiction. My uncle killed himself from his drug and alcohol addiction. My aunt killed herself from a food addiction. So I have I guess, the backstory of trauma, which as a licensed clinical counselor now, my whole work with Racing for Recovery is getting people to help them understand the impact of trauma on our bodies, our minds, our spirit, and how we can take that understanding and turn it into a lifestyle that is full of just health and wellness. And I think that's where we have our common bonds. I don't know about jumping in freezing water to swim right now, but
Build up to it. Build up to it is what I would say.
yeah. I've swam in enough cold waters doing Ironman, but not this cold. So anyway, we're on the same page of just living a balanced, holistic lifestyle. I had a 13-year drug addiction, trying to cope with my mom's suicide and some other traumatic things that happened. But once I got sober over 30 years ago and started putting my energies into self-betterment, man, my whole life changed, and it's led me here to talk to you guys today.
It's amazing.
Backstory. What, if you don't mind me asking, what was the kind of moment when you realized, like, I've got to clean my act up here. I need to get sober. I'm, this isn't going to take me anywhere good.
Yeah, it should have happened actually the second time I ever drank. I was 13 years old, and the second time I drank, it was an entire bottle of Jack Daniel's whiskey, and I took some speed along with it. So I received my third drunk driving charge back on April 15th of 1993, and that was it. I don't want to get weird with people, but I think that God or whoever higher being, and I'm going to put my deceased mom in there, that just basically gave me this mindset of enough is enough. Let's do something else. And that's where my whole life changed.
And did it change instantly? That's what I'm kind of interested about. And actually I smiled then. We're obviously doing a video. For anyone that's listening on audio, I gave a big smile then because you mentioned God, and obviously it's not about being religious. It's actually about, there's this kind of outside presence that we suddenly feel that almost descends into our body and consumes our body. I'd like to know, obviously that was a very pivotal moment for you, but was it almost like instantaneous for you of changing your habits?
I love this conversation. You guys are going to be great today. Yes, it was instantaneous that I was like, I'm done. I remember I was listening to Bon Jovi and his song Bed of Roses.
Yes.
It's a very emotional tune.
Very.
I'm living with my grandma at the time, and she would say to me, every time you play that song, I know things aren't going well. And they weren't, but it was like halfway through the song, I put the beer down I was drinking, and my whole mindset shifted. Now, let's put this into perspective. It's taken me over 3 decades to get to where I'm talking to you guys today. But it was instantaneous mind shift that then, with a lot of work, has given me the life that I've earned today. And notice I said earned. It wasn't given to me. I had to earn it. And I know you guys can relate to that with all the physical fitness and stuff you're doing, right?
Oh,
absolutely.
I love that. How old were you at that time?
I was 26 and I'm now 57. I'm old.
Looking fabulous on it. Honestly, absolutely amazing. It's so super inspiring. I'd like to know, actually, we haven't got any set questions here, and we're just going to go with this. I think your story is so inspiring. It's just going to spark so much inspiration for questions from us. But do you find that with the work that you do now, which obviously we want to talk about as well, do you find that that's quite common? Like there's almost like this bolt of lightning from something higher than ourselves, something outside ourselves that kind of takes over us. Do you see that a lot?
There's 2 people or types of people that come into Racing for Recovery for help with, I call it self-betterment. Yes, we focus on drugs and alcohol, but it's just better living in general. There's the people that come in that have these, I don't like using the cliche term rock bottom. I call them new beginnings. So people have to understand they don't have to hit this tragic, crazy situation that gets them to change. They can create it at any time in their life that they want. There are those that have those instantaneous moments, and there are others that kind of think they're going to change and they kind of move along, and then boom, it hits. either one works fine. I'm just grateful that mine was this instantaneous lightning bolt that I'm like, I'm done with drinking and drugging, and the whole thing shifted. So those are the two types of mindsets that I usually deal with. And as long as you get there, and when I say get there, I mean healthy, sober, spiritually inclined, whatever you want to call it, as long as you get there, good on you for doing it.
Love that. So when you had your instantaneous moment, was that lead you straight into the Ironman? Did you go straight into physicality, or was there a kind of a more roundabout route into that?
I hope you took it gently. I hope you took it a little bit gently and didn't just go, you know what?
No, I didn't mean like literally, I'll put the beer down and I'll do an Ironman tomorrow with no training.
Well, I'm going to put the drugs and the alcohol down, and let's do an Ironman.
It wasn't quite that quickly. But honestly, what did change was I started doing push-ups and drinking my grandma's smoothies. So right away, it was back to physical exercise to get the crap out of my system, putting some good food in me to start. And I picked up, let's see, a couple years into my sobriety, I picked up my hockey playing again, because hockey was my saving grace even during my addiction, but my choice to use drugs kind of pissed those opportunities away. So I picked up hockey because it was all I knew. And after playing hockey for a while and kind of answering the what if question, 6 years into my sobriety is when I found Ironman, because I remember watching it back during my drug addiction and going, wow, I want to do that someday. And I remember sitting with a friend of mine at the time, and he's like, dude, you are wasted right now. What are you talking about? But that seed was planted, right? So it was 6 years into my recovery. I didn't own a bike. I didn't know how to swim, and I hated to run. But I'm like, I'm going to do the Ironman. And I just went after it.
Wow.
Yeah. That's amazing. Actually, for the listeners that don't know, can you just explain, because like what a typical Ironman would involve? It's obviously running, swimming, and biking, but the distances are quite massive, aren't they?
Just a bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Good word. It's a 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike ride, and then a full 26.2 mile marathon run. And just to clarify to the audience, I've done 113 either full Ironman, half Ironman, or Ultraman distance triathlon. So I want to just make that distinction between the listeners.
That
so impressive.
Is unbelievable. And like what I really stuck in me when you just said about it wasn't instantaneous, obviously going from, I'm done with this, I'm going to an Ironman, but actually what you started to do was get into your physicality again with the push-ups. And actually what we see, having not had addictions, but what we see from those people that have very, very low self-esteem, people that are very, very uncomfortable in their skin, people that have anxiety, mental health issues, if we're working with them, one of the things that we say is actually even just getting back into your physicality, actually even connecting with your body again, because we become so disconnected. We're so in our head. We're not even in our heart. We're not in our spirituality. We're very much in our head. And actually getting back into our body again and reconnecting with our body is such a powerful way to kickstart a healing process.
Again, I'm so thankful to be talking to like-minded mindsets with this. I think most people, whatever is hindering them, and it could be anxiety, drug addiction, food, it doesn't matter. If somebody is not living to their full potential, we have to look at why. And usually it's coming from some sort of trauma. And I've done a lot of work learning about the subconscious mind and using it on a conscious level. And I fully believe that goodness is in all of us, but it gets buried underneath a lot of hardships. And subconsciously, I think the good is constantly trying to come out. So if we look at like a diamond that is buried in a bunch of dirt, it doesn't mean the diamond doesn't exist. We just have to dust it off and give it a chance to shine. And that's where, if we can use the conscious to understand the subconscious mind, then you're going to start taking that awakening and applying it to daily improved living.
Absolutely, because it's our mindset. We do get so stuck in our minds, and we get so stuck in our head. And there's a real place for that, you know, like you've said, there's a real place for understanding the subconscious mind, having daily tools that we can use to start really having awareness of what's keeping us stuck. But I think sometimes just being able to have that respite from our mindset, even for a moment, by doing something physical, there's a real shift in that moment between where I am in my mind and where I am in my body. If we can just create a little bit of space, it's almost like something magical quite happens.
It's like
there.
coming into the flow state, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, when you're in the zone and you're just like really present in the moment.
You guys you're sorry, I've given you so many compliments. I love just talking to you guys, and this whole thing of connecting the body and the mind. The mind is a powerful thing, negatively or positively, and whatever one you feed is you're going to get, right? But I think when we can get in tune with our bodies, I believe the body is the one that's driving the mind a lot. And I know people can say, well, it goes the other way. I like to say, I know if I move my body, even if I don't feel like it, my mind is going to come around to it because of that endorphin and serotonin release. So as long as we can trust in our bodies, know, and use our minds to follow that, good things are going to come.
Yeah,
I love that.
I'm into that.
So
I mean,
true.
I think, you know, we always say like trauma gets stuck in the cells of our body. There's so much research around this now, you know, there's trauma gets stuck in our body and it's just there. And when there's no way to release it, we always, on a very, very base kind of trite level, that's why animals, when they have a stressful situation, shake it out. You know, if an animal's nearly been run over, they're on the side of the road, they shake it out, they get it, they become very physical. So the trauma comes out of their body. But so many of us is just so sedentary and we just sit there and that trauma just stays in our body, doesn't it?
We have 90 people that are coming to Racing for Recovery that live in our housing program, that are coming and receiving clinical services. They're all the same. It doesn't matter your sexual orientation or how much money you have, a religious background, it's irrelevant. People are coming because they're storing this trauma and just self-destructing with anything they can get their hands on. And it's brutal to watch. But what is rewarding is to watch that shakeout, as you were saying, with animals, and watching them go through that process of healing. It's awesome. Difficult, but doable, right?
Yeah, doable, difficult, but doable. We always say that, you know, the mindset work, I feel it's like it's harder than the physical work. You know, when you do something physical, you can feel it in your body, you know, your muscles ache the next day. You're like, oh, I've done it. With the mindset, you're like, oh, I'm doing it, but is it working or not? And it's only over a time and trusting in the process that then you actually over a period of time start to see those results coming. You're like, oh wow, this is working. I can tell I've reacted completely differently to that situation. I'm not feeling that drive anymore. But yeah, it's tough work, but so rewarding, the psychological stuff.
I agree, and I'm sure you guys see this. Let's say somebody who's overweight and they're coming into the gym and they see all these fit women and men and they're like, I want that. And it's okay, great. Your mind has shifted, but people really have to give themselves some grace to understand just because you came to the gym today and maybe for the next couple of weeks or months or maybe even a year, you might not look like what you see, but it's changing from within. Yeah. And at some point, you're going to look at yourself and go, wow, I just lost 50 pounds or what have you. And I think a lot of people, they'll see I don't like using the word success, but they'll see some of the things I've accomplished, including being on your show today, and they want to focus on the present. And I'm like, well, do you understand? It took me 30 years to talk to these guys today. It takes day in, day out, rigorous effort and a lot of perseverance to overcome to get you to where you deserve to be. And people really need to understand and embrace the work ethic of what it takes.
Yeah, we always say that discipline is a superpower, right? It's so underrated. And you know, discipline is just, you know, on those days where you wake up and you're just like, I don't want to do it. It's just getting up and doing it anyway, you know, because that's how we actually like nailing new habits, changing ourselves subconsciously, changing our subconscious patterns. When you just do it, no matter what, that's what can lead to massive change.
No, and I also think, you know, self-belief and self-motivation and self-love actually only comes once we've started taking the actions, once we started doing what we don't want to do. This is the whole thing. Like we often say, discipline is doing the things you don't want to do and getting them done kind of first, as quickly as you can, getting them first done in the day. That's why we're always such advocates for getting up in the morning and moving your body first thing in the morning. But actually, some people sit there and they wait and they're like, I'm not motivated. I don't believe in myself. Well, guess what? We're all there. We all have this self-doubt. We all have this self-loathing and a lack of self-love and a lack of self-belief. And it only comes through taking those daily actions over and over and over again when we don't want to do it, that actually starts to build that self-worth and self-belief.
I concur with you guys, and I want to go back to even when we started the show and I was talking to you guys and saying, oh my God, you're jumping in the cold water. I could never do that. You know, I've been doing this for a while and I noticed myself, even with that mindset, if I say I can't do it, guess what? I won't do it. But as we've been talking today, I keep thinking, wow, what would that be like to go over there and do that with those guys? What if it led me to start doing it? And that's the shift in the mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Because I've never done that. So
Yeah.
how do I know what it is or what it could bring? I may do it and say, hey, I tried it. I don't really want to do that. Or like I said, I could try it and go, wow, this is really something I need to apply. But if we tell ourselves no, you're not going to get it. And that's the end of it.
Yeah,
completely true.
And I think, you know, that's the same with anything. I listen to you saying that you've done loads of Ironmans, and I'm like, firstly, I'm thinking I probably wouldn't want to do that. So let's put that, listeners, let's put that down as a marker. I'm not saying I'm about to do an Ironman, but you know, our brain does play tricks on us. As the story that we've created for ourselves is like, that's who I am, that's who I'm not. This is what I'm capable of. This is what I'm not. But actually, we really identify with those thoughts that we have. And a lot of the time we say, actually, they are just thoughts. They're not necessarily true. They've come from trauma. They've come from experience. They've come from our background. But our thoughts can be questioned. They are not universally true. So, you know, I could say, I'm not the sort of person that could do an Ironman. Well, that's an absolute lie. Of course I could. But my mind tells me that that's a truth that I couldn't.
I agree with you. And this is where the difference between the Ultraman and an Ironman come into play. I got into Ironman because of the enormity of it, where people like, oh my God, I could never do that. It was that, right?
Yeah.
When I started doing them, I found the Ultraman, and I had a friend of mine who died from drinking and driving, and I wanted to do a documentary and honor him by doing the Ultraman. And what I found was the further you go physically, the better the rush. And I constantly want that feeling. And day 3 of the Ultraman is a double marathon. And I remember thinking, I ran the first marathon and it didn't even feel like I was ran a marathon. And I started wondering, well, what is it about the mind that is enabling me what usually would really hurt running a marathon is now like no big deal. And I started to realize the brain will shut down 10% of when the final goal is completed. And that's really fascinating, whether it's a 5K, a 10K, an Ironman, an Ultraman. The mind already knows that you're going to go further, and it will determine what you're going to get out of that distance. Fascinating stuff.
So it already knows that, oh, I've got more to go. So I'm actually that 10% at the end, that's when I'm going to really start allowing myself to feel it. But until then, I'm not going to allow myself to feel it.
Exactly. And you were saying earlier about these thoughts. A thought gives us an opportunity to act with action accordingly. That's all a thought is. A thought doesn't have to be, oh, I'm thinking about drinking again, therefore I have to drink again. It means, wow, I'm actually thinking of drinking again. Why am I doing that? Well, I didn't sleep last night. I'm having a problem with my significant other. Okay, well, act accordingly. Go for a run or pray or do something, but don't drink, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
People don't think that. They think, oh, I'm thinking negatively, I have to act negatively on it. I'm like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
This is what we always say to people. Like, I think we always think of our thoughts as a truth, right? There's a truth to them for us, but actually it's just a construct, and we can step back from it and go, oh, is that thought true or not? And
That's interesting.
we have the right to question it and go, oh, you know what? I'm not going to go with that thought.
Yeah.
So I love what you're saying there.
And also I'd love to talk a little bit about what you actually do, how you help people
The
with
race for recovery.
Yeah, race for recovery. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I started racing for recovery in 2001 after doing my 4th Ironman in New Zealand. Our local newspaper ran a story about my life, basically from Addict to Ironman. And the response that I had from that newspaper article was it was crazy. I mean, people that I did drugs with were contacting me, or former hockey coaches, what have you. And I believe I got another gift from whoever, the powers that be, that I thought I can do something with my life that can be of service to other people. Because at the time, I was a pharmaceutical sales representative. I was in the business world and I didn't really like it, but I didn't have the self-esteem yet to really choose my life's passion. I kind of was following what I thought I should do and was making money and all that, but it wasn't fulfilling me as a human being. And when I started racing for recovery, I wanted to create a new innovative approach to attaining and sustaining sobriety. And I've been doing it for over 2 decades now.
So what does it involve? How can people join that race for recovery?
Racing for recovery, as I mentioned earlier, it's a concept that deals with really understanding the impact of trauma and why we've chosen self-destructive modalities to cope with that trauma, as opposed to understanding, healing, and then fully implementing a balanced, holistic lifestyle. So we have 25 staff members who are licensed clinicians. We have a plant-based kitchen. We have clinical counseling services, support group meetings, gyms, yoga, spirituality.
Wow.
These things that help people. And that's where me being an author and being in movies or whatever are just ways to help deliver the Racing for Recovery message.
Unbelievable.
That's incredible that you set that up.
What you've done.
So incredible. Like, how many people have you helped through that Racing for Recovery program?
Oh my God. Hundreds of thousands. I mean, our message has reached people all over the world, whether it's through the media or someone that's read one of our books, or I've done a counseling session or a podcast. We've reached hundreds of thousands of people. And we, like I said, currently we house 90 people because that's our limit. But we'll service in person, close to maybe 500 in-house a year. So we're doing good work. Right?
Yeah, really are.
That's so impressive.
Really are.
I'm in awe.
I am absolutely in awe. It's really incredible. And I just do want to touch on the spirituality side of things, actually, if you're okay to do that, because how important do you feel that is to recovery and healing?
It's essential. And I'm going to get back to starting Racing for Recovery. I went to the traditional format, if you will, of getting sober. And I want to state this, I'm not against the traditional ways of doing things. I kind of look at it as it's one piece of a pizza. It's a good piece of pizza, but I want the whole pizza and I want to own the franchise that makes it. So to answer your question directly, when you're being told one thing, for example, some of the traditional ways of doing it, they'll use the word God all the time. Not that God's a bad thing, but there are some people who don't like to use God. They want to use Buddha, or they want to, and I'm more of like, let people decide whatever works for them in the spirituality component, because as soon as you pigeonhole somebody, you have a more of a tendency to lose them, as opposed to saying, hey, what do you want to call this? And allow more of an inviting environment. So at Racing for Recovery, we welcome any form of, you can call it religion, you can call it spirituality, you can call it God, Buddha, something new, I don't care. But we want you to look at that piece of pizza as you're developing your whole pizza.
Amazing.
I love that.
I love that. And that's why it's actually part of our program as well. That's why we were asking you, like when we go into corporates as well, when we go in and talk to them about our approach and how to have that holistic well-being at midlife, it's a difficult word to find that sits right, especially in the workplace. But we use spirituality, and it really interestingly, and whatever that means to you, but actually finding that, because we always say we have three basic needs: to be seen, to be heard, and to matter. And I think, you know, we're not going to find that from those external things. We're going to find that from within ourselves, and that relationship, that relationship and connection to something that we inherently, I think, as soulful beings know is there. I think we all know it's there, but we've just shut it down.
I agree. Let's use shirts for a second, right? It's cold where we are. Each of us have a different shirt on, but we're wearing a shirt. So let's just, as the Beatles say, let's let it be and just enjoy the fact that we're not freezing right now, and we can learn about why someone's wearing a different shirt and what they think, right? And start to develop a bigger wardrobe, if I can keep using these metaphors, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And keeping our mind open, because what we say about midlife, at midlife, we particularly shut down. Our world becomes smaller and smaller and smaller and more insular. And actually even opening ourselves up to different perspectives, different things, different hobbies, just talking to different people, different connections and communities, that enables us to open, I suppose, without sounding too woo-woo, that heart space that we have shut down so much and put barriers around it.
You know, you guys at the awesome work you're doing, going into businesses, right? Well, look at the different types of business that's out there. So you can have a business culture, if you will, but each business can have a different form of what that culture looks like. You know, at Racing for Recovery, our staff doesn't wear name tags, or we don't wear a certain uniform, because I want the people that come for help to look at us as one of them, not like better than, but an equal to. So our dress code is like, dress however you want, because it's more of how you're feeling internally than the costume that you put on, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, love that. Now, you've also done documentaries. I think, is there a movie in the pipeline? Just tell us a bit about what's coming next.
We're not supposed to say that.
What's happening for you now?
Yeah, there's I got to stop saying I'm embarrassed about this. I'm proud of it, and it's taken a long time to do it. Yes, there's a feature film that's in the works. We're looking to start shooting in July. We're securing a head actor and head actress right now. I can't talk about that yet, but I've had 3 documentaries that have been made over the course of 22 years. We have a 4th documentary coming out in the spring that will then promote the feature film. But I've always had a goal of doing a feature film to get the Racing for Recovery message out, and with sobriety, anything is possible. So it's coming, right?
Yeah.
That is so exciting. You must be so excited for that.
That is just, look at what you've achieved. It is so incredibly inspiring, heartwarming. Like, there's no words. There's no actual words and vocabulary that I can use to really say what I'm feeling in my heart about how amazing you've done and the amazing work you're doing.
Well, I appreciate that. And if you listen to us, everybody that's listening right now, you have 2 different accents. We're on 2 different parts of the world, but we're basically saying the same thing, right? It's, I'm understanding myself. I'm working my butt off. I'm thankful the support that I've have that helps me get to where I'm at. And here we are. And it's a positive vibe. Our energy that we're both sharing on this screen right now, it's the same thing. We're just in different parts of the world, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're so grateful to be able to do that. It's so wonderful to have that affirmed, actually, you know, because as human beings, we like to feel like we're understood, seen, heard, and that there are other people out there like us. And I think these are such life affirming conversations, aren't they? They're just so beautiful.
They are. And I want to go back to support for a moment, because one of the smartest things I've ever done, business-wise and personally, is surround myself with people that are better than me at certain things. So everything, you know, I'm the face, I guess, of Racing for Recovery, and I'm proud to be talking about what we do, but I understand how I got here. And I didn't do all this on my own. My work ethic is my own, but the support that I've utilized to enhance my work ethic, that's when you really have something. So I'm grateful for the people that are around me to help me do what I'm able to do. That's for sure.
Unbelievable. And I actually do have one question for you, actually. If someone's listening right now or watching, and this really resonates with them, you know, like the addiction, and they're in a real hole. Like, let's, you know, they might be actually at rock bottom, even though we don't like to say that. We don't have to get to rock bottom, but wherever you are on that spectrum of addiction, are you able to just share some words, or what would you say to those people that we're reaching here with this podcast that might be going through a similar thing to you or in their own way?
Great question. And my answer to the person who's watching this right now, who's hurting, my answer is you are of value. I empathize with your hurt. Let me and Racing for Recovery, or you guys, help you deal with that hurt so you can live in peace and be happy. I know I'm thinking of me talking to the person right now who's hearing it. This is exactly how I felt. And I do want to say this. I'm not just a guy who did a bunch of cocaine and now runs Ironmans. Okay. Those are two factors of me, but I'm also educated in this. I'm licensed on 2 different levels. I can counsel people clinically on helping them be all they can be. And I am available to do that. So the internet is a beautiful thing with stuff like this, right? So again, the empathy towards somebody, the gratitude that I'm here to be of service, and the humility that I have to deliver those services to somebody in need.
Such beautiful words. Such beautiful words. Thank you.
So glad I asked that
question.
Really,
really like made my heart swell there. So if someone was listening to this or watching this and they did want to reach out to you, what's the best way to get in touch with you or with Racing for Recovery?
Racing for Recovery on all your socials. I am the Sober Ultraman on the other socials, toddcrandell.com, racingforrecovery.org. Reach out to us, and I'll answer it. I will say this, in 22 years of being the founder of Racing for Recovery, I answer all of my emails myself.
Wow.
I don't have somebody typing responses. It's me. If you reach out to me, I will get back to you. Give me a couple of days, but I'll get back to you.
Fantastic. Amazing. Thank you. We'll put all those links in the show notes as well.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. And you're just an absolutely incredibly beautiful soul. And thank you for all the people that you help. Thank you for being on this podcast. It has been an incredible conversation. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. And I hope to meet you guys in person for an Arctic plunge someday. Right?
That would be fantastic. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like that's now embedded in your brain. Like, I'm going to do it. Yeah. I said I couldn't do it. I wouldn't want to do it. And now I'm going to make myself do it.
I'm sure you'll swim a lot further than us though.
Yeah. Don't get us wrong. We're in there for like about 3 minutes and then we're out again, straight into our dry robes.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
For your time. Really appreciate it.
Take care, guys.
Yeah.
You've been listening to the Midlife Mentors with Claire and James Davis.
We'd love to hear from you, so drop us a line at info@themidlifementors.com with any questions or topic suggestions.
And make sure you join us on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. You can find us under the Midlife Mentors.
Yeah.